Here with another episode of Building Without Barriers and my special guest, Bean Gill. I'm so excited to talk to Bean today, and I want to thank my Pick a Posy costume company fashion sponsor. I had a really hard time deciding what I was going to wear today, and you can't tell, but it's a full-length, beautiful black dress with this beautiful silver chain, and they're doves, I think. Anyways, it was in the window a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, love that dress. Hi, Bean.
Hi, Julie.
I'm so excited to see you this morning because after last night when you and I hung out with Nancy in your physiotherapy clinic, well, in my living room and my bedroom and my standing frame, I was so stoked after our consultation last night because Bean and Nancy said to me, Julie, you have a butt. And like, I'm sure most people out there are thinking, how is that a compliment? But for me, it was a major compliment. And it really, it made me realize that all of the work that I've been doing with my body and recovery is totally paying off. And it inspired me to be standing to speak to you today and to do this live from my standing frame. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to my blood pressure. I may have to sit down at some point, but we'll just go with it and see what happens. And Bean is in Edmonton, and you can see the backbone behind her there. She is at the Ryu Paralysis Recovery Center that she has started in Edmonton. And Bean, can you tell us about yourself and what you do? And uh-oh, I lost Bean. We're having some technical difficulties. Anyways, I can show you that I can sort of show you that I am standing today. Got my knees braced. There's Bean, she's coming back. There we go. We're just having some technical difficulties. You're back.
Yes, sorry, I don't know. Just went to my email.
That's okay.
Okay,
go for it.
Cool.
So tell us about yourself.
Sure. First of all, hello to everybody, and thank you, Julie, for having me. And I'm super stoked that you have a butt. I'm super stoked that you're standing right now, and just all of the changes that you've made in the last year of me knowing you have been incredible to watch, and I can't wait to continue watching them.
Yeah, Bean and I have been hanging out for a year now with Sarah Foley and the Disability Icons, and that's how we got to know each other. And we have both grown a lot in that past year. So That's how we connected.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess a bit about me. I am first generation Indo-Canadian, and I was born in Alberta in the 80s and grew up in a very strict religious household. Went to school, became an X-ray tech. I got married at 25, and then 2012 came and totally flipped my life upside down. I left my husband that April of 2012 after he beat me up for the first and last time. Not a pleasant experience at all, but definitely added to who I am today. In June of 2012, are you ready for this? This is going to be a roller coaster, okay? June of 2012, my dad leaves our family. Okay, that's been coming for decades. 2 weeks later, I'm in Vegas. And on Friday the 13th in July of 2012, I was paralyzed. I had a pain in my low back, excruciating pain. And then a couple of minutes later, couldn't move my right leg. A few minutes later, couldn't move my left leg, and was left paralyzed from the waist down within 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
So
I've never heard your story of how you became paralyzed, and it happened on a Friday the 13th. Seriously?
Friday the 13th. I'm not lying. In Vegas. Yeah, it's crazy.
Nuts.
Totally nuts. And stress had a huge part to do with why I was paralyzed, because my immune system was so overworked and just spread so thin, it couldn't stop the virus that attacked my spinal cord. And then from there, like that was almost 9 years ago. So a lot has changed since then. A lot of positive things have come from my paralysis, such as the business that I'm sitting in right now, REU Paralysis Recovery Center. Even for my own recovery, I've recovered so much function and mobility. But if I could flip a switch and have my mobility back, I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. Do you feel the same way?
I do. And like I've met a lot of people along the way in the past 5 years who say that they wouldn't change where they're at right now, and that their injury or their illness that caused their paralysis makes them who they are. And I'm like borderline there, but not entirely there. And if I could change my body, I would. And that's why I am working as hard as I am to be fit and strong and flexible and all of that. And that's what you do. So tell us what happens at REU.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So at REU, we promote neuro recovery. So neuro recovery is something that not a lot of people are talking about, especially here in Canada, because we are in the dark ages in a lot of areas. Canada is not the leader in so many areas, and neuro recovery is one of those areas. And so we wanted to be able to bring it back here. We are one of 5 centers all across Canada. And to put it in perspective, California has more than 8 centers.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we're really, really behind. And I was fortunate enough to go around to a bunch of these centers in Canada and in the States, and same with Nancy, who started out as my trainer, and then in 2016 became my business partner, and we opened REU. It is a nonprofit organization, and what we do is neuro recovery. So how do we do it? It's with activity-based training. So activity-based training, our program has 4 components to it. The first being active assistance exercises. And so that we call that AAE. And so that is where the trainer will help the client move each limb through each motion of each joint, except it's not done passively. We don't do anything passive. Passive range of motion that most physios do is only going to lubricate your joints, which, okay, sure, that's also a good thing to do. But if you want to reconnect and you want your legs to wake up, you want your hands on your arms to wake up, or you want a stronger core, you have to think about it. You must. So it must be active. That's why we call it active assistance exercises. So and what that looks like,
Yeah, like last night, right, when I was in my standing frame and I'm seated and I have my hands up here on the handles, and Nancy's saying to me, okay, push through your feet. And I'm like, push through my feet? I can't do that, but I can think about it, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. We're not, and so many people say, I can't do that. And we have our REU rules of conduct board over there, and on there it says you can with the T crossed out. We don't like the word can't. We will not let people use it. We will immediately correct them to say, yes, you can. We're going to teach you how. Right. And so it's about that mind-body connection. And that's what neuroplasticity is when you're learning, those new neural networks are being created and your neurons are firing and synaptics are firing. And that's how you create neuro recovery. So active assistance exercises again. So if you're working on somebody's bicep, let's say, right? The trainer will say, okay, think about making a muscle, flex your bicep. They will ask the client to initiate the movement, whether they can or not, that's beside the point. We ask you to initiate it. The client has to think about it. So sometimes they can get a contraction, sometimes it's just a flicker, and sometimes you can't see it, but you can palpate something. And sometimes you can't do anything at all. But as long as that client is thinking about it, and then they try to initiate it, the trainer will then move their arm through full flexion while palpating the belly of the muscle. So the cueing, physical cueing, is what helps the client find that muscle. And then you do it thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and then that's how your brain and your body start speaking the same language, right? So we do that with every single muscle all over the body, and it is very effective. AAE is probably the most frustrating part of the program, but also the most important, because that's how you're going to create that connection.
Right, because it takes a long time. And the results are like infinitesimally small, but they come, and it's like seeing your kids grow up. You don't see them grow every day, and then all of a sudden they're 18 and they're taller than you. You just got to give it time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like the nervous system, it is a very slow process, right? It's sometimes very like excruciatingly slow, and we don't have a lot of patience, and everybody wants that quick fix. Everybody does. We see that in weight loss. We see that in so many things. And if I had a magic wand, trust me, I would use it on everybody, and I'd be a trillionaire. But I don't. Okay. So that's active assistance exercises. The second principle is core. So we do a lot of core work for everybody because you can't do anything without a strong core. And so here we consider core everything from your neck down to your pelvis, front and back. So that's your abs, that's your chest muscles, that's your back muscles, that's your pelvic muscles and stuff. Everything in there is your core. The third principle is weight bearing. So as you know, as you're standing, right, weight bearing, there's a lot of benefits to it. And so the soles of our feet and the palms of our hands have tens of thousands of neuroreceptors waiting for input. That closes the circuit of our nervous system. So when able-bodied people, when you're walking and you're putting that pressure on your foot, your nervous system's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm happy, I'm getting that feedback, I got a closed loop, we're good, right? As soon as you stop walking, your nervous system is still looking for it. Like, I mean, where is it? I can't find it, which can result in spasms and involuntary movements. So how we do weight bearing is hands and knees, elbows and knees, kneeling, or just standing on your feet. And then the fourth principle is gait training. So that's any kind of reciprocal motion. So we usually start with crawling, reciprocal crawling, so opposite arm, opposite leg. Kneeling walking, where we'll put knee pads on somebody and put them in our new lift walker, and we'll have them kneel walk. Or overground walking on your feet, either with the tread or on the treadmill, with the body weight support system, or we have a few different types of walkers that we use, where the trainers will help facilitate that proper gait pattern. And so for us, proper kinematics and proper form is very, very important, as well, of course, as safety, because our belief is if we're going to teach you how to walk again, we're going to teach you right the first time, right? When I was first paralyzed, my physiotherapist said to me, okay, well, we're just going to get you walking and we'll fix all the bad habits later. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to do it.
No, and it's like learning a sport, right? Like if you're going to learn the techniques of a sport, you want to build those foundations correctly and build on them as you grow and learn, right? Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Whew. That's a lot. Okay, so those are like your 4 key principles. Tell me, I've done a tour, like your virtual tour that you have on your website. So I saw some of the equipment that you have. What's your favorite, what's the favorite thing that you do when you are working out there?
Oh, my favorite probably has to be the hip glute machine. And that's only because it's really hard to activate your glutes, and it's hard to make them bigger, right? And so the hip glute machine really zeroes in on your glutes, and you can add weights to it. So it's a resisted machine, and it really helps you grow your muscle. Like my butt has actually gotten bigger after using the glute machine.
Right. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew when we're talking about glutes, we're talking about the butt, right? And that whole butt that I was told last night that I have. So it sounds like something that would be great for me to do too. Are you able to get around and show us that, or do you have too many clients around? We'd love to see it.
Yeah, no, I can show you.
Okay, that'd be awesome. And then while you're traveling, if you are talking to somebody who's thinking about setting up their physio clinic or renovating their physio clinic, talk to me about the accessibility at your facility, because I know that must have been at the forefront of your plans when you were setting things up, right?
It was, yes, of course it is. The ironic thing is like our accessibility is not that great outside. It's doable, and it's only because our parking lot has sunk down, right? And so that had happened before, like years ago, I'm assuming. But there's a sewage pipe that's running in the front, right in front of our doors. And so that's kind of sunken down a bit. But we tell everybody to park along the side, and that's where the accessible parking stalls are along the side. And then you go on the sidewalk, and it's completely flush. So like we did get around that, and like we chose this spot simply because it had 2 accessible bathrooms already built. It had a
Nice.
kitchen. That's something that we really wanted, and enough space. And it was minimal landlord's work when we moved in. We didn't have to tear down lots of walls. We didn't have to do a lot of that stuff, which would have ended up taking a lot more time. And okay, I'll take you to the. I'm gonna grab my headphones first. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. See if I can wheel with one hand.
And sort of go in a straight line. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're right.
So those of you that are listening or watching, if you are interested in learning more about neuro recovery, drop your location in your chat and maybe give us a shout that you are interested in learning more, because this is, it's like the forefront of moving your body and learning how to move your body again. And the more we can do it, the quicker we are going to be able to be stronger and faster and firmer.
Agreed. Yep. And just healthy, right? We really want people to be healthy, whatever that looks like to you, especially after a spinal cord injury or any kind of disability or whatever. You want to make sure that your mental and your physical health is your top priority so that you can last a long time, you know, living on this planet. Okay, so I'm not sure how to turn my camera around on this thing. I don't really see an option for that. So right behind me, this is the hip flute machine.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is it.
That's
So
great.
you lay down there and your knees kind of hang over this, and then see the weights up here on the sides. So when you lay down, right now this is belted down with a gate belt here. But when you lay down, this comes up so your legs are flexed like that. Okay. And then you using your butt, you push this down. So this is attached to the weight. So you lay down and you're pushing the weights up. Right. Weights come up and your legs go down. So it's really isolating your glute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for cueing, our trainers can usually cue from here. Can you see my hand? Yeah. So you can cue glutes right here, right? And so we have 0 personal space. Everybody is all up in each other's business, and that's because you have to be. But you know, as you know, most people with spinal cord injuries, you lose all modesty at the hospital. So then you're like, whatever, I don't care, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and my body is an open book to the people that I work with. Absolutely. And that's just back to what you were saying before about physical and mental health. What a lot of people who aren't living in the world of spinal cord injury don't understand is all of the other changes that happen to the body when you have paralysis. It's so much more than just not walking. And like me being in my standing frame here, I mentioned that it's affecting my blood pressure, and that's because circulation is so messed up. The circulatory system is affected by the lack of information getting around the body, and just the lack of muscle strength, supporting core and helping bring blood back up to your head. Like and as I talk, I'm losing my blood pressure. Whew, take it away, Bean.
Yeah, sure. Take some deep breaths there, Julie. Deep breaths. It is hard. Like our spinal cord controls our temperature regulation too, right? So Julie, that's why we asked yesterday, do you sweat below your level of injury? Does your head sweat, right? Here especially, like you can see Sandra working on the background here. Here especially, when we have people working out in the summer, we do have air conditioning if we run, but some people will really start to overheat because of their workout. And so like we keep cold towels in the fridge, cold, wet towels, and then we'll put that on their head or put them on the back of their neck just to help get their temperature down to help regulate. Because if you can't sweat, overheating is a huge problem.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I talk about in terms of accessibility. And you don't think of temperature regulation as an accessibility kind of thing, but when planning a space and making sure that you're designing it with heating and cooling that is appropriate for the body that's going to be living there. And the same with being outdoors and being able to be in a shaded space outdoors so that your body's not overheating. Because what I find is When I overheat, it takes a hell of a long time for my body to get back to something sort of normal. And so creating spaces where you can keep that temperature range in a narrower zone and have less fluctuation just makes your body burn less energy to get back to that sort of regular spot.
And I think like that comes back down to listening to your body, right? A lot of us dissociate ourselves from our parts that aren't working. I completely did from my legs. I completely dissociated myself from my legs. But when you working on neuro recovery, your body is your body. Your legs are part of your body. And like when you have to really learn to be self-aware and learn to listen to what your body's saying. When I start to overheat, my legs get a little bit modelly, like not model-y, like motto-y with the T.
Yes.
So we can like spot it and
color
stuff,
changes.
right?
Yeah.
And then that's how I know, okay, I have to cover my legs or flip over if I'm laying down outside. Right? It's those subtle hints because your body will tell you when it's in distress. It's just being able to recognize what that sound feels like or sounds like, and then being able to like translate it to what it actually means.
And that's a really good point, because I often cover up my legs. So like I will always wear tall boots, for example, so I don't necessarily see the skin. And so I'm not paying attention. And that just happened to me the other day. I was outside on a patio when it was probably cooler than I should have been out for as long as I was. And I got home and I took off my boots and my feet were ice cubes, like total ice cubes. And my son was with me and he was like, Mom, my toes are really cold. And I'm like, go put some socks on. Not thinking, Julie, your feet are probably also quite cold. Yes. Learning, right? Always learning.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
Brianna is in Wisconsin and she says she would love to find something like this here in Wisconsin, if you know of anyone.
Okay. Yep. We do have a interactive worldwide map of activity-based training centers that I can look on, and we should find a way to link that onto our website. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I'll post with my YouTube in the comments how people can get in touch with you, because I have been working with my physiotherapist Mark Piddock at Glazier Physiotherapy for the past 5 years, and we have done amazing things together. But it's always awesome to bring somebody else in, just to give new ideas, and especially when your focus is paralysis recovery, like solely. It's just you're on top of, you're the front of the curve, right? Pushing for learning new things.
Yeah, we're trying to be. Like Nancy's really big on R&D, research and development. There's, in this field, the technology is changing by the minute, right? Science is like, on an exponential high curve.
Yes.
And so we need to keep up, and we want to make sure that the services we're providing and the equipment that we have is of the top of the line, best practices, and everything we do is evidence-based. There are studies to support everything that we have done. The Western medical system just says that it's not enough evidence. It's never enough studies.
Well, then let's make that evidence, right? And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are your next favorite pieces of equipment that you have there? Show us something that most people will not have seen before. I know you have a lot to choose from.
We do have a lot to choose from. Okay, I'll show you our Lightgate bodyweight support system. This is the piece that we fundraised for the most. And we got the most versatile one here. So you see behind me.
Oh, yes.
There are mirrors around it, so sorry, I don't know how to do this properly.
Oh, that's perfect.
Those blue pads is where the trainers sit on the sides.
Yep.
We have a harness around our client's pelvis and abdomen, which gets hooked into those black straps that are dangling. And then it's on a hydraulic lift, so you can just lift them all the way up, and you can control how much body weight the machine is holding, how much they're putting with your own feet. There's a tablet attached to it, so we can weigh people on there. And so we walk people with, like I said, it's called locomotor training, and it's proper cueing and proper timing. And
actually walking on the treadmill, right?
Yes.
Planting your feet. Yeah.
Planting your feet and swinging your arms, right? The
Yes.
reason we get people to swing their arms is because that activates the central pattern generators, which are a bunch of cells located in your spinal cord that are responsible for the active walking. Like your brain stops and starts you walking, but your CPGs are the ones that continue the walking. So that's why it's really important for those reciprocal motions to be done as much as you can.
And so I've asked you to show like your fancy equipment, but there's also a lot of things that people can do that don't require fancy equipment. And like, for example, yesterday, you had me kneeling on a cushion with my front leaning against the bed, right? And so all I was doing was just kneeling in that position. And I had Theo behind me supporting me in case I got wibbly wobbly, but even that is load bearing on my knees, right? So if you don't have a standing frame or you don't have fancy equipment, you can still access this kind of physiotherapy practice just with one other person.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of stuff you can do on your own as well, right? A lot of people just aren't really sure of how to do it, how can I safely get into that position. And to be quite honest, people have a lot of limiting beliefs of what they can't do, right? And that is put on by the medical system right from day one after you realize you've been paralyzed, right? And so when that's drilled into your head, you believe it, that you can't do it. When Nancy and I first started, we had a table, which is like this table that we built all of our tables. That's Brian and a couple of our trainers there working out. All we had was a table, some yoga blocks, some resistance bands, and a gait belt. That's it. And really, that's all you need because you could use your creativity, right? And you can do so many exercises on a table, supine, prone, and just, you can do core, you can do weight training. You can also do gait training by crawling across a table or I don't know. There's so many combinations, so many things you can do. And if you are interested, we do offer online assessments now, and we try to help people realize their potential, right? We try not to talk about limitations. We only talk about potentials. We're not going to ask you what you can't do because we want to see what you can do.
Yes. Yeah. And working with you guys last night, like I said before, it was just super uplifting. I feel like I have been in a bit of a funk the past like month or so. We've been in lockdown again, so I'm not going anywhere. I haven't been able to get to my physiotherapy clinic, which isn't just for my body, it's also for my mind, right? And so just being able to work with you guys last night and challenge my body to do a few things, even just slightly differently, I was just super pumped last night. I even had a hard time falling asleep because I was thinking about it all. So yeah, totally. And talk to me just like one last thing about where you're at and that idea of limiting beliefs. What do you do to challenge yourself to not get stuck?
It's an everyday practice to not keep your mental health stuck in those limiting beliefs. And I speak from personal experience, right? I have said many, many times, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I've always proven myself wrong because I can do that. I'm holding myself back. And is it going to look the way an able-bodied person does it? Probably not. But can I still do it? Yes. And the more I practice, the better will it get better? Yes, it will, right? So for me, I do positive affirmations every day when I wake up. Even when it's like 4:30 in the morning, whatever, I wake up, I open my eyes, say I'm grateful for being alive today, I'm grateful for waking up. Because so many people don't get that opportunity. And so when you say that first thing, it just kind of sets that mood for the day, right? And then as far as limiting beliefs go, like, I don't know, I've always been very rebellious. And so when somebody in authority tells me I can't do something, my initial reaction is, watch me, I'm going to go do it. Watch me. And then I'm going to get other people to do it. And then we're all going to walk into your office. That's what's going to happen. Right?
So I love it. Yeah. And sometimes I do the same thing. I push my therapist a little bit every time because he'll say to me, so can you can you lift this 22-pound weight? And I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Chris says,
Let's go.
I'm so happy to be seeing this show, Julie and Bean. Thank you for sharing your story, experience, and fabulous facility, Bean, and your inspiration. And Melissa says, LOL, show them. Yes, practice-based evidence. You are right, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. And I'll figure out how to get you some information about Bean. If you can't find her yourself, get in touch with me. But she's at the Ryu Paralysis Recovery Center in Edmonton. Bean Gill, just look her up. She's everywhere on the internet. I love all of your hair colors. I was looking at your pictures. You've got so many awesome hair colors that you have done over the years. You're very brave. I could never pull that off. You can. It's
Really?
awesome. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's also rebellion because I was raised in a very strict household where we weren't allowed to cut or color our hair. And then my sister became a hairstylist. That's her rebellious act. And yeah, now we just do whatever we want.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much for being with me today, Bean.
Yeah,
and you know, this is going to be up on YouTube, and lots of people are going to be able to find you and find out how they can work to make their body better. Right? That's what we're doing. Yay!
I'm happy to help. Thanks, Julie, for having me. This is really fun.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.